All right, hello everybody. Welcome to my Extreme Demon tier list. I have here all 64 of my Extreme Demons, and I'm going to rank them based on a mixture of deco, song, enjoyment, gameplay. Gameplay and enjoyment kind of go hand in hand, but they do differ on some levels, which you will come to see. Also, I used my own thumbnails for all of these levels, so some of them might be a little bit confusing at first, but I will explain them, so not to worry. Also, these go in order of when I beat them. Okay, so starting off, my first Extreme Demon, beat it December 2020, I believe, is Aku, and I'm not necessarily too happy to have that as my first Extreme Demon. It's a little basic, but I still think that Aku is a pretty great level. It doesn't look bad by any means. I do like the song, even though it can get a little tiring. And the gameplay is not as bad as I've heard a lot of people make it out to be. I thought it was really, really fun. A lot of my friends have said that it's unbalanced, and I can't disagree with that on a fundamental level, but I never had problems with it. I fluked the level from 81, which I will call a fluke because the ending is the hardest part to a lot of people. I didn't know that I was going to beat Aku as my first Extreme Demon at this point in time because I had just beaten ICDX, which was an Extreme Demon at the time. But since that got demoted, this is now my first Extreme Demon. For its good looks, fun gameplay, all around good experience, I'm going to put it in A tier for sure. Cataclysm was a lot worse in just about every aspect. I don't think anything about Cataclysm is better than Aku, and that includes my experience that I had with it. It was really hard for me to kind of play this level because I was just sick of the ball and the UFO after the first wave specifically, or after the first ship, I should say. I kept dying to like pretty BS places, so that just got to me a lot. But that being said, it's not the worst level ever, so I think I can put C tier. Maybe D tier. I'm going to add an F tier. It's weird that tier lists don't default to have an F tier, but I just added one, not to worry. Hypersonic, I'm going to put in the same tier as Aku because I just really, really enjoy Hypersonic. I think it's actually really sick, especially for its time. I love Vibrant's ball sections and the Sonic levels, how they just progressively get more and more labyrinthian and confusing, and the ones in Hypersonic and Subsonic specifically have always been like some of my favorite parts. Also, when playing the level, I never died to any of the choke points near the end of the level that I've seen, like 85 and 91. Overall, it was a very good Extreme Demon, although I was scared because I almost lost the footage and almost had to rebeat it, but we didn't, so it's fine. Now, Allegiance, I think I'm gonna put a step above Cataclysm because even though I had a worse experience with Allegiance than I did with Cataclysm, it was unluckier, it was just not great. But I do think Allegiance is a better enough level than Cataclysm to make up the difference. Obviously, I'm biased towards the Living Tombstone here. I love almost all of their songs. Keyword almost. The deco is pretty alright. Good for its time, but there's really nothing much there. And in terms of gameplay, I don't have too many complaints except for the ending specifically. Like, it was 81%. That just has a pink orb that was really, really difficult for me. But I don't know if that's just a me problem or if that's a common issue. Speaking of gameplay, the drop was pretty awesome. It was very, very satisfying. All right, next. Even though I didn't have the worst experience with Deception Dive, I think it still belongs in F tier. Its deco is just mid, like even for its time, and then obviously the gameplay is atrocious, as is notoriously known. There are genuine like 7-star parts in the beginning, and then near the end, especially that ball part at the start of the second drop is just like atrocious. Now, kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum is a level that I did have an F tier experience with, but I'm not going to put an F tier because Artificial Ideology is actually not a level that I hate in any other regard other than my experience. Out of the 3 Team N2 levels, I would place it in the middle. I like it more than the Hell Factory, less than a Bizarre Phantasm. My experience playing it, especially like some of the drop sections, like the 70% UFO, was just really not fun at all. And I think for how I played GD at the time, it's kind of a miracle that I followed through and I didn't drop it. I'm very proud of myself for that. Maybe possibly thing is easily going to go up in S tier. Not only do I think it's an S tier level, but up to that point, it is the most fun I'd ever had with an Extreme Demon. It was my first Extreme Demon that was not a new hardest. And I had a really good kind of break time with it. It only took about a week. I just kind of like pumped it out. Super fun. No complaints with gameplay, except for maybe a small nitpick at 85. But it's really not that bad, especially playing it back now. Now, next is Azure Fiesta, and I actually have a lot of history with this level. I attempted to go for it once, like a couple years before I actually beat it, and I made a lot of good progress. I got into the 70s like 15 times, and then into the 80s like 3 times. Gameplay-wise, that 70% range has a ship that's really hard compared to everything else. And then the 80s are also really hard compared to everything else. So both of those at the end of the level is like why I never beat it back then. But I did eventually come back to it as a new hardest. And I mean, it's a fine experience. I'm going to put it in B tier just because I think it's a good level. I like the summer themes. I like the song. I think it's a good level. Pretty mid experience. B tier is a great spot for it, I think. All right, this is the big bad Bloodbath. And I mean, I'm going to put it in B as well, because I had a semi-enjoyable experience with it. Really nothing to write home about. I never died at G-Boy. My best was the wave at 86. Deco-wise, it's kind of the same as Cataclysm, but I think it's just a much more fun level. Now, Troll level has a couple of pitfalls, but I don't think it's enough for me to not give it S tier. Mainly the drop is kind of boring and it's a little choke pointy. I guess I just enjoy memory or something, because this was a very easy breezy experience. I think that this should be an insane demon. I like the deco a lot, whatever genre of deco that is. And the song's a banger too. Fun fact, I beat this on my school laptop at the end of freshman year. It is my hardest on 60 Hz native. Another side fun fact is I tried to then beat Firewall, the insane demon, on my school laptop, and I couldn't, which goes to show why Troll level should not be an extreme demon. Okay, next is Glide. The decoration is pretty amazing in my opinion, and the song is so good, and I love the progression of the level, but I really can't place it that high because, oh my god, I did not have a good time with it at all. I just could not get over the hump of the beginning, and then whenever I did, I felt like in the drop or wherever else, I would just die to something that wasn't my fault. And this is the first extreme demon that I really kind of got angry at. But it being a good level in general saves its placement a lot. Idols, I'm definitely going to give S tier. Idols may be the most enjoyment I've ever derived from an extreme demon before. From beginning to end, it was so much fun. This was around September 2022. And at that time, I had a trip to Greece. And this is going to sound bad, but the whole time I was in Greece, I could not wait to get back home and keep playing this level. That's how fun it was. And don't worry, I still enjoyed my vacation. But, I mean, obviously the song is just a banger. And the level itself looks good. I love all the different parts. So I think it easily deserves S tier. Thinking about where to place Napalm, I want to put it in A tier because I want the tiers to be like somewhat balanced out, but there is really no reason why it shouldn't be in S tier. I just enjoyed this level so much, even though it was a little learning at times, and some parts did not make sense to me, like part of the pre-drop. I mean, this is just my kind of gameplay through and through. It's so satisfying, and the level itself looks really good. I love the industrial style, and then the Magma Bound song that it uses is just so good as well. I love the Magma Bound song. I really can't place it in A tier. Like, there's no reason for me to. So, S tier is where it will stay. This is my friend Colin, by the way, from years ago. This is Only Cube. Only Cube was not really anything. I mean, the level's fine. I had a fine experience. I think it's just kind of textbook B tier. It was really just nothing. I can't even tell you why I even beat it in the first place. It was really fast, like 3k attempts. The level's nothing much to write home about. I mean, it's kind of cool, but B tier is like the only placement for it. Epsilon is like kind of close to breaking into the really good category, but there are some glaring things that hold it back, specifically choke points. Both of the slow parts in Epsilon are impossible. And then, like, 84, the last click of the ball duel before you get to the ending is, like, stupid, and it should not exist. So I'll put it in A tier, even though the gameplay's not the best, and my experience wasn't anything elite or anything. But, I mean, there are so many good things about it. Like, I think its drift is the person who made the part. The blue and yellow part where you are like a ship in a wave duel collecting the keys. That part is so great and it's so fun. I really like Epsilon. I do not like Aftermath. It is by far the worst in the trilogy. I don't really know why it exists at all. There's nothing like fun about it. It's just like rehashed Cataclysm. This is another level just like Cataclysm that I just kind of struggled to play. This one especially so. I dropped it for a while before coming back to it. I don't really think there's anything here. Prismatic Haze was quite a fun time, I think. I'm going to put it in A tier. I mean, it's just super satisfying click sync gameplay. My first real like click sync extreme demon. It's definitely not perfect. There are a lot of choke points for me, especially the ending, which is something that I've heard a couple people say, but a couple people I know disagree with it. But also less talked about is there's one section in the middle of the drop that just was so difficult for me, and it was not like the rest of the level. So it threw me off quite a bit, and I died there a lot. Deco and song, there's nothing super... I mean, I like the song, but Deco, there's nothing much to ride home about, I don't think. But I think A tier is a good spot for it. Dolos is kind of sad to place just because of how disappointing it is. When I discovered the level way before I had the skill to beat it, I fell in love with it. Something about the song and the duel gameplay really like drew me in. But unfortunately, when it came time to actually beat it, I did not have a good experience at all. The beginning of the level is just slow, and then you get to the duel, which is just janky. Even though I still love the song and I still think it looks alright, I have to put it in D tier. And also, fun fact, I posted an April Fool's video of me beating this on April 1st, and then I beat it for real on April 2nd. So that might have been pretty confusing if anybody saw that. That's where the "but for real this time" comes from in the title. The ultimate phase is fun. I like the gameplay. I'm going to put it in B tier because it's not anything super fun, and the level itself is just kind of like your 1.9 level. There are a lot like it. As far as the 1.9 level goes, I think it's near the top of that spectrum, but it's not necessarily my favorite type of level, so it's kind of capped at B tier. Unless I find a 1.9 level like really fun, which I have yet to, I wouldn't place one higher than B tier. Azurite is pretty mid. I'm going to put it in C tier. I didn't have a horrible experience. The level itself is nothing at all, in my opinion. I mean, the deco is fine. It's just the like kind of epitome of mediocrity. There was also one transition. It has been fixed. I've played the level since, but I have to talk about it because it was there during my experience. It was a UFO transition that was really weird, and you had to like double click. I don't entirely remember, but I do know it was there, and I do know that it just kind of like bogged down the level because it just kind of existed for no reason. Hey, hi, it's me, Catchit from the future. One quick thing I need to clear up is that when I was going to my video to show an example of the bad transition, it was fixed in my video. What I said wasn't wrong, but what I didn't realize was that it got fixed midway through me beating the level, not after I beat the level. So from my memory, I thought I beat it with the bad transition, but I didn't. So that is why the picture of the transition is from Silo, the creator of the level, from their showcase video. But yeah, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the video. All in all, Azurite is like pretty inoffensive, but it can't go anywhere else. Carcano is going to go in S tier. I absolutely love Carcano. I love corridor style gameplay. The gameplay and the song is what carries this to S tier. Ahead of the Curve is like, in my opinion, like top 3 Creo, which might sound kind of crazy, but like I love that song so much. And there was not a single time that I was having a bad time with this level. I just enjoyed it all the way through, which is rare, especially for a second hardest, which it was at that time. Even though this was before I discovered the AREDL, so I was using the Pointer Crate Legacy list, which has this higher than Dolos, which was my hardest at the time. So I thought this was a new hardest, even though it wasn't. Red World is kind of another nothing burger. It is literally the easiest extreme demon in the game. I beat it in like 2 days or something. The gameplay itself is like awkward, and obviously the level doesn't look good because it's so old. This UFO section that's in the thumbnail specifically was like not good. It was the only part of the level that I even kind of struggled with. Castling is a level that I found from a Discord GIF. It was a blaring siren that said, "Do not play," and then the ID for castling. And I ended up beating it because it just is not nearly as bad as that Discord GIF would make you believe. I'm going to put it in B tier because it still wasn't anything crazy good, but it just was not as bad of an experience as I thought it was going to be. I think most of the reason for that gift's existence is like the invisible frame perfect at 4%, which I will say is obviously questionable. And then also from my personal experience, I died at 98 4 times. I guess I really was kind of extreme grinding at this time because Forbidden Isle was another nothing level. And just like Azurite, the other Scylla level, I'm going to place this one in C tier as well. It balances out almost perfectly because the songs are about on par with each other. And I think the deco of Forbidden Isle is a little better, but I think the gameplay is a little worse. So it perfectly balances out. Fusion Z is so mid. I mean, it was really hard to play this level for long periods of time because it was so boring, which is the obvious problem with like XXXLs. I think it's like 5 minutes long. But Fusion Z came from a random number generator that chose an AREDL level. And it happened to be Fusion Z. Fusion Z definitely made me very nervous just because of the length of the level. It was my first time feeling nerves that bad, except for maybe at the end of Dolos. But there's really nothing much to compliment this level for. I'm glad I beat it and didn't drop it. I'm proud of myself for that. Now here comes the big jump. This is Frozen Cave. I beat this directly as a result from Fusion Z because when I was able to push my way through Fusion Z, I'm like, maybe I can push my way through something even harder. And Frozen Cave was always a dream level of mine, so I decided to go for it, and it only took like 10 streams, and I did it. Very surreal completion. My first list level was number 99 at the time, although I had to rebeat it to get it on the list. This is just an obvious S tier. I mean, the song is one of my favorite songs in GD. I love the deco tremendously, especially the ship where you're escaping the avalanche is just so cool. And playing it as well is just kind of so captivating. The gameplay is not without flaw. It's kind of awkward the whole way through. I think that's something that anyone who's played the level would be able to agree with, but it did not really hinder me that much. It was just, at its worst, some deaths that I was annoyed by. You know, it's funny doing this with my own thumbnails because even I had to take a second to remember which one this was. This is Zettabyte. Zettabyte is just like the net zero kind of level that I've been talking about the whole time I've been recording this video. Mid deco, mid song, mid gameplay, mid experience. I should probably move it to C then. It was just so like whatever. Niwa. Nash is not going to like this placement.
You what?
I think Niwa is really, really good. I really, really like its gameplay and its deco and its song. And in terms of my experience, I fluked it. So there's nothing wrong that I can fault the level for. Obviously, whether the gameplay is good is subjective. I will agree that it is very unbalanced, but to me, that balancing didn't cause enough of a problem for me to not enjoy the level because I fluked it from 54. Which I still feel so bad about because I only really started playing the level because Nash was talking about how bad it was. So I felt really horrible to just kind of snipe it like that. That experience kind of influenced how I chose levels later down the line. I mean, we can't place Goner anywhere other than S tier. Goner is like almost perfect. I don't think I can fault it for anything gameplay-wise. Everything is super fun, even though the first cube's harder than the rest of the level by a decent margin, not including learning, of course. But oh my god, playing that wave from zero is so thrilling. And that's something that I have said and will continue to say about other levels. It's just, there's no kind of feeling like it. It also helps that I fluked this from 70. It was like my fourth wave attempt or something, which is stupid. Is why everyone calls me a fluke merchant. I'm gonna have to place Broken Signal in C tier, which is not something I wish I had to do, but I can't ignore my own experience that I had with the level. All of my bad experiences pretty much stem from a progress fluke followed by getting super unlucky over and over and over again. That's exactly what happened here. I progress fluked from 57 to 93, which is the last click. Technically second to last click, but the last click is a dash orb that you can buffer. And then from that point forward, it was just hell. I think I died past 60 like 40 times. Which, to be honest, going back to the level and looking at its gameplay is like unexplainable because it's really not that hard. Maybe I was just in my own head at that point, and it sucks that a level as cool as Broken Signal has to go this low. Cerebral Torment is the first of 3 levels that my friends have told me to beat. I've asked 3 of my friends to pick an extreme demon for me. This was the first one. My friend Colin picked Cerebral Torment, which at the time was the very bottom of the AREDL. Let's be real, he probably just didn't feel like scrolling through it because he didn't really care that much. I mean, that That's me assuming. But Cerebral Torment's really cool. I'll put it in A tier. I mean, I really like the little dude in the drop. And I also like the song quite a bit, and the gameplay's pretty fun. It's like a 7.5 out of 10 in every metric. There's nothing glaringly better or worse than anything else in this level in terms of deco, song, gameplay, whatever. I don't remember why I beat the Ultimate Demon. Probably just because it was so easy. I'm not a fan of Vit 12, and I can't say too much about that because, I mean, he's still a creator. He still has rated levels and I don't, and he's still a better creator than I will probably ever be. But I will say that I'm just not the biggest fan of his style, which sucks to say. I hate criticizing people. But it's very relevant here because I don't think the deco's that good. I don't think the song is great. The level was fun enough, but I think it's just more so mid, so I'll put it in C tier. For the 10th time, I'm calling a level a net 0, but this one I actually have a funny story with. The start pause of the Flawless that I played the entire time had a really difficult kind of coin route. It was just a buffed version of the last jump. And I was really worried I was going to die there, because whenever I beat Extreme Demons, I go for the coins. And I was streaming the Flawless, and I had like a Twitch prediction up and everything, whether I was going to die the last click. And then unbeknownst to me, the level was updated since the release of the start pause, and said hard jump does not exist anymore, and the coins are just free.
What? What? What happened? Wait, whoa, what?
So it was just an extremely anticlimactic ending. I found it fun, so I can put it in B tier. Luchiverse, that is going to go to S tier. I think it's great. I don't think there's a single bad thing about it. I can see why people would criticize the gameplay. I think it's actually gotten a balance update since I've beaten it. I do remember the second half of Luchiverse being much, much easier. To be honest, though, I don't care that it was unbalanced because I still enjoyed the gameplay a lot and had a great experience. This is one of 4 thumbnails that I didn't make myself. This is my friend Nico Berry. I think he took a liking to the level, so he made a thumbnail for me. And fun fact, the laser beam is the Adobe pirating warning because the first version that he tried to make for me got deleted because Adobe detected that it was a pirated version. And then also, this thumbnail is so absurd that Luch himself commented on the video, which is probably my greatest comment. I Hate Ren is a lot like Broken Signal in the sense that I really don't think it's a bad level at all, but my experience has to push it all the way down to C tier. I'm actually going to put it in D tier because I don't think it's as good of a level as Broken Signal, like disregarding experience. But when I talk about experience, it really is the exact same thing as Broken Signal, except the progress fluke in question was even bigger. I think I fluked from like 35 to the last cube, 92 or something like that, which is especially tragic because the last cube really is not that hard. It was purely nerves. And then, you know the rest, I got unlucky with the rest of the level and I just really started hating it, and that was that. I was very relieved when I beat this. This is the second level of the 3 that I was told to beat by a friend. I asked my friend Noah this time. Sparkling is another kind of tragedy because I love Sparkling in terms of deco, in terms of song. Interplanetary Spark from the Yakuza games is like, oh my god, it's just such a high energy banger. But I can't overlook how jank this level is. I don't know if I've ever played a level more jank. It was jank to the point where I didn't know if I could even do anything to get better at it. I thought it was just kind of genuine luck the whole way through. And I have to put it in like B or C tier max because of that. I'll put it up to B tier just because I really kind of adore it in every other aspect other than the gameplay and my experience. Also, I fluked Sparkling from like 60 something, so that helps with experience as well. I can put it in B tier. My last Extreme Demon of 2.1, Artificial Ascent. I think Artificial Ascent holds up really well. I was a 2.0 level, I believe, and probably the most iconic from 2.0, unless I'm forgetting something, which is very possible. I really like Artificial Ascent. I'm not going to put it in S tier because it's not like incredible or anything, but Etzer's part I really love. The ending duel I think is extremely fun. It is brought down by some parts like Speed's part, which was not my favorite gameplay. Also, I made a bet that if I died to the last duel, I would shave my head. I did not die to the last duel, but even if I did, I would not have done it. It Back is really underrated in my opinion. I think it's really cool. Definitely deserves a spot in A tier. I beat this along with my friend Nash, And I at least had a really good time with it, especially because playing with someone else is always more fun, in my opinion. I like what this level does. It's very experimental. I think it works very well. My one complaint is that I could not get the transition into like 80% ship, which is not something Nash struggled with at all, and it's not something that I've heard of anyone ever struggling with. I think it was just a me issue. Cat Planet, I believe, was my first 9 Circles Extreme, which is funny that it took so long. I don't remember it too well. It was fun, I guess. There's really not much to talk about. I'll put it in B tier. I like Eden by Sysmix. This is the last level that one of my friends told me to beat. This was the level that Nash told me to beat. And it's kind of funny how we got here, because at first Nash was like, beat 666. And then I learned 666, the ending of it. I'm like, that is so learny. I don't want to learn the rest of that. Nash is like, fine, beat Headlock. And I'm like, that is even worse. That's a 2-player level that I have to beat by myself. I'm not going to be able to do that. And Nash is like, okay, fine, last option. You can beat Electric Forest. So I beat Electric Forest. I can't deny that it looks cool, but it is just so far from my type of level. It felt really weird to play. I don't think I've had an experience like it up to that point or since. And it's really hard to put into words what that feeling is. It was just kind of there, which I'm sorry for the lack of specificity, but that's just the way it is. Shut Down. As I'm sure you can tell, this is the second thumbnail that I did not make myself. This was a commission from Foodie Newbie, and she charged me $5 for it, which is highway robbery, because it should have been at least like $30. I guess I won't complain, but like, if she's still making commissions and they still cost $5, then that's crazy. Anyway, though, onto the actual level itself. Shutdown has always been one of my dream levels. I love Milky Ways by Boss Fight. It's just such a good song, and it holds so much nostalgic value to me. And I just thought the level looked really cool, so it's always been on my radar ever since way before I was good enough to beat it. Unfortunately, the experience itself was a little bit disappointing. The first wave and ship and the drop were just so hard that I'd be lying if I said it didn't hinder my enjoyment. And then besides like general jank here and there, it's rare, but there does exist some jank here and there. Besides that and the first ship and wave, it's a really fun level, but I was kind of having a hard time with it towards the end. But it still earns like a high A tier, for sure. Now, I mentioned with Niwa that it really influenced how I chose levels from that point on. And that's how I ended up beating Ploink as a new hardest, a level like no one had ever heard of. But Ploink is actually a really underrated level. It's really fun. The two glaring issues are, one, it is so first half carried, it is insane. And two, there is a pink orb at 18% that is just, it just sucks. I mean, there's no way to get consistent at it, at least that I could find. But other than that, it was good. I mean, Garden Party, the song, didn't annoy me nearly as much as I thought it would, hearing it thousands of times. I think this could land in A tier, which is interesting having this and Shutdown in the same tier, but I really do think that it's the right spot for it. This was my second botched April Fool's Day video. Already botched Dolos, talked about that. This was Ouroboros Start Pause 2 by Foodie, the person that made my Shutdown thumbnail. And I don't think anyone realized that I wasn't lying about actually beating this until like months later, because I mean, it says April Fools in the thumbnail, and it's just really weird, the timing of it. I never told anyone that I was playing it, which was a big deal because this was a top 10 for me at the time. So it just kind of happened, and everyone reasonably assumed that I was joking, but I wasn't. I fluked it from like 60 or something ridiculous. Now, it's going to be hard to rank this objectively because this is the only Extreme Demon I've beaten that was made by one of my friends, somebody that I know. So bias is going to be impossible to avoid. I like the Visible Ray song. I like how the deco transitioned into like pink and green background with like black obstacles. And the deco was super fun too, even though the first wave was really, really hard. That didn't block me as much as I thought it would. And I think that this level has been updated since I beat it. I think I've seen that update video I recommended a couple times. The video is over a year old, but I think it was still after I beat it. Anyway, this is a nice A tier, probably on the higher side of A, and I think that this is a very universally liked level by the people that play it. Akira. I watched my friend Noli play this level a lot.
Fucking minuscule thing. Like, come on, dude! Like, God!
And I'm like, that is so cool. I want to play that too. The deco is like really great. I really dig it. And then the song is like one of my favorite songs in GD. And the first 2/3 of the level are super fun. But unfortunately, the last third for me was so terrible that I need to put it for all the way to B tier just because of 33% of the level. The last third of this level consists of a ship and a wave. The wave I didn't have as much of an issue with, but the ship was so bad. I didn't think I was getting better at it at all. It felt like luck. It felt hopeless. My mindset was I would get there and roll a die to see if I would pass it or not. It really was not great for me. And that is so sad because it is just one little part that brings this level down from like easy S tier all the way down to B tier. Extra fun fact about this level is that I beat it with the creator in the call because Noli knows Iridani, because Noli knows everybody. This is Oxy. I beat it with my friend Cade. It is a super cool level. I'll put it up in A tier. I didn't have the greatest time beating it just because learning levels are my kryptonite. But besides that own kind of personal issue, there's nothing I can fault it for. Also, I feel very bad because Oxy was made by Psychro. And in the thumbnail here, you can see the end of it. I put Psychros because I thought it had an S at the end and I didn't bother to check. And that wouldn't be nearly as embarrassing if Psychro did not comment on the video saying GG. I'm kind of struggling whether to put Blade of Justice in S or A tier. It would be comfortably in S tier, but there's a duel at the middle of the level that I just couldn't figure out. So this was another kind of luck-based thing. I'd reach it and hope that I pass it. But I think I'm leaning towards S tier only for the reason that I think I easily could have played it more and gotten better at it. I was kind of rushing through Blade of Justice as a whole. So unlike Akira, where I really did go in-depth into that ship part and try to get better at it and I couldn't, I think I could have gotten better at the Blade of Justice duel and I kind of chose not to. But Blade of Justice also has one of my favorite songs in GD. Edge of Destiny is personally one of my dream levels. And it's just really fun. Apart from maybe the first robot, there's nothing to complain about. Deco's cool too. Now, this is something that I haven't talked about a lot. And even my friends don't really know how I feel about this level. They might be shocked when I say that quality-wise, this is the best Extreme Demon that I've ever beaten. This level is made by Posse Blitz, a former creator that came back to the game in 2.2 to make this, and oh my god, he made a banger. A couple things that I can talk about that are especially good are the backgrounds. They are just so detailed and they work so well in the level. Another thing, in addition to the backgrounds, is the song. I know I've been talking about the song a lot. I actually choose levels a lot based on songs, so that's why it's a very relevant factor in a lot of these levels that I'm talking about. But my god, is this song good. It is just my type of song. One last thing is that I'm a sucker for asymmetrical duels, and pretty much like the whole second half of this level is just one long asymmetrical duel that fits the intensity of that part of the song perfectly, and it's amazing. It's perfect. It's perfect. Intrusive id or intrusive ID. I call it intrusive id because I think it makes more sense for an id to be intrusive because it's part of the psyche than an ID to be intrusive. The I and the D being capitalized do lead me to believe that it's officially intrusive ID, but I don't know. But anyway, intrusive id, intrusive ID is pretty much perfect. I mean, I'd rate it like a 9.8 or 9.9 out of 10. It is an underrated masterpiece that needs more attention. Dump was a level I beat solely to improve how good I was at timings. I do think Dump is a very high quality level, especially the city part at the end. It works so well with the song and it's pretty beautiful. I'm not a fan of the kind of timings in Dump. I'm gonna sound like a toddler who needs flashing lights and 5 screens to look at all times, but it really just was a little boring for me, which I hate to say because I do understand it's slow on purpose. The slowness works with the song. It's not a level that's supposed to be fast, and I get it, but I can't not mark it down for that. I was kind of just bored a lot of the time playing it. It is a great level, like quality wise, so I'm gonna put it in B tier. Now Beeline is like a sleeper S tier, and the reason I say that is because when I was thinking about this level, I was thinking about putting it high because it's a 2-player level that I beat with my friend Nash, and just beating levels with people is always a really fun time in my opinion. But the more I thought about it, Beeline quality-wise is just really, really good. I never really thought about it until recently, until I thought about making this video. But I think the deco is really good in all of the different kind of parts. Both the top and the bottom kind of shift between multiple styles of deco, which in and of itself is a genre that I really like, just like shifting deco that seems almost random. But it's all executed very well. And on top of that, I really like the song. So, I mean, S tier it goes. Ion, the third thumbnail that I did not make myself, was made because this was me participating in an event. For some unknown reason, a lot of people beat Ion and thought it would be funny to use that exact thumbnail in the title, Ion Situation is Crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I like being included in things. Let's do it. Especially because this is one of the easiest Extreme Demons. Probably pretty predictable what I'm going to say next, but that means that the experience was not really anything. I just beat it so fast. There were elements of good gameplay in there, I could tell, but I kind of just breezed through it so quickly that I can't say much about it. And at this point, with my skill, it's hard to hate an easy Extreme. At the very most, I could dislike it, but that's about it. Just because no matter how bad something is, if it's easy enough, I'll do it quickly. So I mentioned earlier that Intrusive Id is an underrated masterpiece. You know what else I think is an underrated masterpiece? Desync is an underrated masterpiece. I mean, it is so criminal that this level has as little attention as it does. I definitely think it's underrated in difficulty too, which is something that I won't get into in depth. But what you do need to know is that I and many other victors thought it was very underrated, leading to only 10 victors by the time it fell off the demon list, which is so sad because it deserves so much more. I don't know if more people have played it since it got its update. I think it got a balance update, nerf date, something like that. But there are a couple things that I need to talk about with Desync on why I love it so much. The first thing I want to quickly go over is the song is I really, really like the song, and it's really underrated as a song. I've never heard it before this level, and I haven't heard it in anything other than this level. I'd never even heard of the artist of the song. The decoration and progression of Desync complements the song so well. I love the kind of unique style, you're in a water building.
Huh?
Okay, I am not an official critic. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it water building genre. But it mixes water and industrial themes in a way that I haven't seen before. I mentioned earlier, I love a good asymmetrical duel. This level has 2 good asymmetrical duels, even though they are both really hard. Oh my god, they're so hard. The first one especially, it's very unique. You can only see one half at a time, but that makes it so difficult, especially because they desync with They desync with each other halfway through, and that makes it really difficult to do certain timings, especially because you can't see half of it. Even though it's not the best gameplay in the world, it's still a solid 7 out of 10. So this is going to be a top 5 on my list. I'm not ranking them within the tiers or anything. Just as a more narrow point of reference than just the tiers, this is a top 5 for me. This level also introduced me to Stan Mansan, who is now one of my favorite creators. Atomic Cannon was very fun. Atomic Cannon is unlike any of these other levels because there was a time pressure aspect. I've never really felt pressured. I've never really been on a time limit to beat a level. Atomic Cannon was falling off the list the next day when I beat it, and I really just wanted to have it on my list profile. That's what the thumbnail comes from. We won. It's cut off, but it says number 150 Atomic Cannon. We won. The time pressure and added stress did make this a little worse of an experience for me, but as a level, I love the fast CPS style of gameplay. Atomic Cannon Mark II is definitely on my radar. I think it's so fun. Even though I got supremely unlucky, not only did I die at the last ball, I think 25 times, I also beat it and metal didn't clip. So I had to do it again, which did not help the time stress. This level is just below Desync, which I didn't say I would go in depth as to how Desync is underrated, but it is actually so criminal that this is so close to Desync because I beat it 8 times faster, and that's not even a joke. Atomic Cannon's a good level. I'll put it in A tier. Gracefully was my next hardest after Desync. You can't see, but I'm doing heavy air quotes right now because I genuinely cannot believe that this is above Desync. I beat this in 7,000 attempts. Beat a hardest in 7,000 attempts in a week, maybe 2 weeks. That being said, Gracefully is some of the most fun I've had playing in Extreme Demon and Geometry Dash. I mentioned at the beginning, I love the Living Tombstone, and Squid Melody is just another Living Tombstone song that I love. The decoration is so colorful and vibrant. As we've established when I was talking about Dump being slow, I'm a 4-year-old, so I really like my colors. It's so rainbow, and it's great because I love rainbows. This is definitely an S tier. I've been thinking really hard as to where to place Zodiac. No level on the servers means more to me than Zodiac does, and it harkens back to when I wasn't even trying to be a good player. I was so young. Zodiac had just gotten placed. I had just come back to GD after like a little break. I was still playing on my iPad. I don't even remember how I knew it was the hardest level because I couldn't even find the list at that time. I didn't even know about the list at the time. I learned it was the hardest level, and something about it stuck out to me so much. I remember, I'm getting so nostalgic here, talking to my friend Colin about it. At elementary school, there was this little table that we would sit at. You'd sit on the floor at this little table at lunchtime in our classroom. And I talked about it there with him, and we were like, yo, what if you beat it? Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Oh, but it's so hard. And then I remember getting like 8% on my tablet, getting to Anakana's part, which is like the first hard part of the level. And I thought I made so much more progress than I actually did. And then since I'd come back a couple times, I got 51, I believe, the day before 2.2 came out. And then I kind of, switched to getting used to physics changes and whatnot. Then I came back to it, and I got through it. I fluked it from 66. Still the most surreal completion of my GD career. Still the most surreal thing I've ever done in my entire life, I think I can easily say. I'll say getting to Penato's part specifically, playing Penato's part, knowing you're from zero, is just chilling. But my problem is I don't know if I can put it in S tier, because I don't know if I can overlook how choke pointy it is. I mean, it's just so unbalanced. You have these first two parts that are free, and then you get to some hard parts, and then you get to the mid section, which has TMN and Failure back to back, which is some of the hardest gameplay you play in that level, especially TMN. And then after that, it's just like break time until Penato, and then you go to the end. Playing the level involved just like getting to 8% every time, and in an XL level, that's like quite a bit of time per attempt, and it just kind of felt like a slog, especially near the end. The end, which I did not know was the end because I randomly fluked it from 66. I called Colin that night. I'm like, at that point, we weren't actually talking that much on Discord. We've started talking again a lot more since, but I called him and I'm like, Colin, I'm sorry that I just called you, but I just beat Zodiac. We kind of like freaked out together for a while, and it was just a really cool moment that started all the way back in elementary school. I'm sorry that I've yapped so much about Zodiac, haven't even really talked about the level too much. How I feel about this level is like purely anecdotal, and it doesn't have much to do with the level itself. I mean, looking at it unbiasedly, it's like kind of mid. This level has so much meaning to me. And that's why I was really scared for Spectre to come out, because whenever a sequel comes out to something that I really, really like, I'm just so scared that it'll ruin it. And now I can say that Spectre is a worthy sequel to Zodiac, in my opinion. Spectre is incredible. I think logically, I need to put it in A tier. Emotionally, I want to put it in S tier, but A tier is where it's going to go. Now, I did say that these completions are in order, and that is not false, but it is in order of published date to YouTube. And this is not actually Zettabyte. We already ranked Zettabyte right here. Even though it's Zettabyte is the thumbnail, this is Niflheim. And I didn't post this until months and months after I beat it, for whatever reason. I think I might have just forgot. Niflheim is your classic OG level. There's not so much to say, except that it was really annoying. There's a 2.2 bug at 81 that I couldn't figure out how to avoid. It just killed you sometimes. So I kind of went into it with the mindset of like, hopefully I win the dice roll. But the level's easy enough that I was willing to not workshop it that much. I think B tier is a great spot for it. The Man with No Eyes is another super underrated level. I love the art style of it, and the song works so well with it. It's like mysterious almost. And I know that The Man with No Eyes is a reference to a game. I don't know what the game is. I want to talk about how there are like fire bars and fire things from Mario in one of the sections, but I don't know if it's like a Mario detail that the creator added in, or if it's part of the game that they're referencing as a whole. I can't really talk about this so much in depth, not knowing what it's based off of. But what I do know is that the gameplay's good, and it looks super, super cool. This is another super underrated one. This is Vendetta, and despite this being my fluke record on an Extreme Demon, fluked from 51, I'm still going to put it right here, because Vendetta is horrible. I mean, it is such like a zeitgeist of early 2.1. That kind of just low quality level that isn't really highly play tested, very unbalanced. The wave gap at like 13 that was already super hard is made even harder by 2.2, because if you don't do it right, then the next part bugs out. So you effectively have to like cut it in half. Then at that point, it turns into like almost a frame perfect, which is terrible. I think the song is funny. It doesn't do anything to save it, but the song is funny. Thank God I fluked this. Like, thank God I fluked this. I only even started playing it in the first place because Cade told me to. Carnage mode took me like 2k attempts or something, which is nuts because that is so little for a level like kind of high. I like the gameplay a lot. It's not perfect. There are some kinks in it that aren't fully worked out. I wasn't a huge fan of like the break time sections. The first section, like the break time section, doesn't say break time, but it's the same deco, so I'm grouping them together. But I think that's made up for by the part at right after the break time, that like ship and then UFO. That part of the song too is just really good. I really like that part of the song. All in all, I think that B tier is a good place for it. Melon River. I mean, Melon River is one of the most visually impressive levels that I've ever watched, and I love all the different references. There's a watermelon with a basil crown, which was neat. I'm glad I found that. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better-looking level. So for that alone, it needs to go into A tier, but it's not going to be able to go any higher than that. Despite it being an easy extreme demon, I actually had a hard time with this, and I'll tell you why. There's a part where you go into the melon dimension, and it looks super cool, but the issue is it is a little jank, which in and of itself is not bad, but with all the deco, even with the ULDM made for that part, I was getting like 90 FPS, and it was like so hard to play properly. I wish this could have been S tier, but because of that, I just can't. And then it's also funny because I was just kind of glazing Stan Man saying, but his part in this level, he made gameplay. It was, in my opinion, the least fun part of the level. Every time I died there, I was really upset. And I was like, really? You know, it just felt like deaths that you shouldn't be getting. And where this level was placed definitely had an effect, you know. Thinking that it's easy, thinking you're going to breeze through it and not, is tough. Coaretta. I like Coaretta. This was another like pipe dream level from like years and years ago. I beat it over the summer because I just needed something hard while I was playing Delta. So Coaretta is currently like number 6 on my top 10. Fun fact, it is the only one of my top 10s that was never in my top 3. I think that's a really cool fact. This is also the last thumbnail I did not make myself. This was my friend Cade, and it's cut off, but we have Coaretta, and then we have my friend Noli, my friend Grayson, and then this football player named A Million Bugs. Just because that's a really, really funny name. Anyway, obviously the first orb of Coaretta is trash. I mean, it was like 90% of my attempts or something like that. Kind of artificially inflating the attempt count. It took me like almost 30k, which is crazy. I did get really unlucky on this, especially because I died at 97. According to Nash's research, I'm not sure if this is entirely true. I mean, I'm inclined to believe her, but it just seems like such little amount for how many people beating Coaretta. I'm the third person to die at 97. Because I forgot to turn on the LDM. I swear that I did, but apparently I didn't. So I died there. Coaretta is really choke pointy. Nothing is really that hard until the drop. The drop is super hard. Both waves, especially the 88% wave, are so hard. The drop is just some of the hardest gameplay I've ever played. Luckily, though, I still think Coaretta is a really good level, and I didn't mind it for all of its gameplay flaws, especially because I went into it with the mindset that it was kind of going to be like that. So I'm going to put it in A tier. This is Pointier Crate. This level is a very easy extreme. I beat it because I really kind of digged how everything was made of like the fake spike block. Contrary to the opinion of my friends, I think the style is really cool. And I'm also a sucker for the official level song, so I didn't even mind that I used blast processing. I think a solid B tier is really good for this. Said it time and again for easy extremes. Fast experience, looks cool, nothing to complain about gameplay wise, yada yada yada. You put it in B tier. And also for the exact same reasons, I'm going to immediately put Innards in B tier right next to it. Kind of a 2-for-1 deal. So we're almost at the end now. Twitch Denon, I said when I was ranking Ion that at most I could only dislike an easy extreme. And this is unfortunately an example of me disliking an easy extreme. I'm going to put it in D tier because, I mean, there's nothing visually to write home about. But the main problem is just that the gameplay is just not my favorite at all. It doesn't even feel like I'm playing GD. I'm doing it all in autopilot. It feels like the same exact thing the whole way through. After learning this level, I started playing it from 0, and I got to the drop like 4 times, and then I just beat the level. Because, it's so easy. It really is. Probably shouldn't even be extreme. You know what I hate even more? the level that rounds out this tier list, Sakupin Hell. That is going to be our 4th and final F tier and final ranking of the whole tier list. And let me talk about it. During one of my sessions of Sakupin Hell, I was thinking about how anyone could genuinely like this level. I was thinking that the only demographic that could like this level is a nostalgia blind wave carry player. It's not like it looks cool. It's like Cataclysm or Aftermath style deco. It looks so similar to that. And then the gameplay itself is just every part, save for like maybe the ship and mini ship, is either awkward or like the impossible wave part. I think specifically the fact that you have to do an extra click at the beginning of one of the mini waves is like really gross. And then if you pass that, sometimes you get a bad entrance into the UFO, so you die to the UFO, which is like a glorified wave death. I'm probably the only person on Earth to struggle with the duel, but I did struggle with the duel. I died there many times in runs, and I even died there a couple times from zero, which was just silly. And speaking of silliness, I had a ton of other silly deaths throughout the level. Specifically, right before the duel, I just didn't click and died in the ship, and then going into the last wave, I just like hit the ceiling before I could even get a chance. It was just a very unlucky, very goofy experience, and I don't really see how anyone could like Sakupin Hell, but like to each their own. If you're a fan of Sakupin Hell and you made it this far, tell me why in the comments. I'd love to know more. But anyway, thank you for watching. This is a video I've kind of been wanting to make for a while. I've been putting off actually recording and filming it. I tried to record it once before, but I was so incoherent with my rankings that I kind of just scrapped that recording. But I think this is a much better second attempt. My nephew is crying in the background. I don't know if the mic is picking that up. If it is, I'm so sorry. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.